Is it wrong to vote for a third-party candidate?
This is a world
premiere. This is a world. Reg here, and welcome to another Wednesday Hump Day rant. Before we jump into the main topic for today, I want to talk to you guys about a couple of things that are going on here with me at AltSpace and on the channel. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have been doing a live stream, and we've had amazing guests. Last Sunday, we had Brian Hernandez from The Onion Night 5. In fact, it was Brian Hernandez who inspired today's rant. I'm really thrilled with the response to the crowdfunding campaign to winterize AltSpace. In the first day of the campaign, we raised almost $1,000, and that was before I even sent out a major email. All of that money was raised from you supporters on YouTube, so I am really thrilled with that, and thank you all so much for your support of the AltSpace project. I want to thank Ethan for not only pitching the campaign himself, but for offering to make these amazing handmade coasters that he designed himself and is using a laser cutter to cut them out, but they're amazing. Now, if Ethan can step up and create a wonderful gift for people who give donations to the campaign, I feel like I can do the same thing. And so what I'm going to offer is the shirt off my back. Not this shirt that I'm wearing right now, but you guys may notice that I wear a lot of t-shirts, and many of those t-shirts I've designed myself or that I've collected over the years, and each of them has a special meaning to me. So literally, I will be giving people the shirt off my back for making donations to the Winter is Coming GoFundMe crowdfunding campaign for AltSpace. Is it a waste of an individual's vote to vote for a third-party candidate when it is clear that that candidate is not going to actually win the election? Is voting for a third-party candidate effectively a vote for the other side? The reason that I'm asking this question is during the last live stream, Brian Ocasio-Hernandez was talking to me about who I was going to vote for, and I explained to him that I was planning to vote for Hillary Clinton because I was convinced that it was the only way to ensure that we would not have a Donald Trump presidency. Brian basically handed me my head on a platter, and so I went and did some research for myself. And I want to say that what I learned has me kind of eating my words. You have Republicans and you have Democrats, and it is pretty sure that in any election that it is either going to be a Republican or a Democrat who can win, and that these two sides are constantly in opposition with each other. Now, interestingly, when you look into what it actually means to be a Republican and what it means to be a Democrat, you may find that they're actually not ideas that you would be opposed to. For example, Republicans, who, interestingly enough, were started in the 1800s by a group of abolitionists, people who were trying to end slavery. In modern days, the Republican Party basically stands behind the idea that an individual should be responsible for their own place within a society. Democrats, on the other hand, were founded basically by Thomas Jefferson, and he was a slave owner. In modern days, Democrats hold the beliefs that a society is responsible for its members. It is possible that a society could take care of its members and still allow individuals to be responsible for their own place within a society. Those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. In fact, if you think about the way the United States is run, we basically have a balance of those two things happening at any given time. Why is it that these two fundamental ideas that most people would be willing to stand behind, most people would be willing to embrace, you end up with these two parties that are so diametrically opposed to one another, where there's so much antagonism that exists between them? And regardless of what anybody believes or what they feel about one party versus another, it seems that there is a growing disillusionment with the American public in terms of politics and in terms of those two parties. Why is it, if people are so dissatisfied with the Democratic Party and with the Republican Party, that they still seem to maintain so much power? Why is the system that seems to be so broken the system that everyone clings to regardless of how it's failing? Although the United States effectively has a two-party system, there are hundreds of other parties for an individual to choose from. Why, when there are hundreds of parties to choose from, do we keep defaulting to Democrats and Republicans? One thing to keep in mind is that both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are establishment parties. Every 4 years, we are presented with two establishment candidates, and those are the Republicans and the Democrats. To keep people from voting for a non-establishment candidate, the establishment uses a divide and conquer strategy. The first thing that happens is these parties choose platforms that effectively polarize the country along a 50-50 split. The next thing they do is choose frightening candidates for both parties. By choosing candidates that create a sense of uneasiness in most of the population, people are forced to vote for the candidate that they fear the least to avoid having the candidate that they fear most win the election. Now, crucial to this strategy is to have several hot-button issues like gay marriage or taxing the rich or healthcare that strike fear in the hearts of voters, and then using the media to inflame emotions on all sides. So as a result, most people, in fact 98% in the 2012 elections, vote for the establishment candidates, which in effect maintains the status quo. It maintains the power elite. Another result of having horrible candidates means that many people won't vote, which also serves the establishment elite. What many people claim that they are doing when they select their mainstream candidate is that they are choosing the lesser of two evils. They want to, as much as possible, avoid having the candidate that they fear most elected to the office of president. So voting for a third-party candidate isn't throwing away your vote. It's making a definitive statement to the Republicans and to the Democrats and to your fellow Americans. Even though the Republicans and the Democrats serve the same vested interests, there's enough rivalry between them that if a third-party candidate were to gain enough popularity, those parties would probably and very likely, and have in the past, adopt those principles into their own platforms. In fact, we saw this when socialism was on the rise in the country, and then suddenly there were socialist programs that were being introduced in the mainstream. Also, voting for a third-party candidate helps those candidates reach a 5% of the popular vote threshold, which gives them access to federal campaign funding. Voting for a candidate that you don't fully support because you want to avoid another candidate winning takes away the power of your own voice. You can't tell that candidate that you voted for that you don't fully support their platform. So when that candidate is elected, they have a mandate that says, I was elected by this percentage of the population, and so I have a mandate to implement the policies that I talked about while I was campaigning. And that might not necessarily be what you want. Wouldn't it be far more powerful to vote for the person whose ideals you can stand behind? Wouldn't it be far more powerful to send a message to the government that this is the kind of world you want to see, even if that person isn't ultimately elected? The only way for people to know what you stand for is for you to vote for the candidate that stands for what you believe in. So voting for a third-party candidate, not only is it the right thing to do, it's your civic responsibility. It's your civic responsibility to send a message to the country that this is the world you want to see. How else can we create a clear vision of a future of an America that would be the kind of place that we want to live in, the place that we can be proud to say that we're a part of? Thanks to Brian Hernandez from The Onion Knight for setting me straight on this issue. Please read the article by John Uberstatz. I'll include a link to it in the description box below. We'll also be using that article as the topic of conversation on the next live stream, and that'll be this coming Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't yet, please check out the Altspace Winter is Coming GoFundMe campaign. I'll include links to that in the description box below. And that's it for this video. Like it if you like it, share, comment, subscribe. This is Reg signing off. Love yourself. Peace.
And I love myself. The world is a ghetto with guns and dick inside.